Welcome to Brandventures, the podcast that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo, and I'm going to take you guys on a journey with me to discover new brands that are making a difference in today's market. Join me as we dive into the minds of fearless entrepreneurs behind the brands, discover the secret to their success and how they turn their passion into a profitable business. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an exciting adventure into the world of brand innovation on the Brandventures podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Brandventures, the show that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. And today we have Joanna and Matthew Hofmann from The Living Vehicle. Joanna is a dynamic marketing executive with a passion for sustainable living. Joanna is also a co-founder and chief marketing and sales of The Living Vehicle, Inc. Matthew grew up in Mammoth Lakes, California, and his love for the outdoors inspired a career dedicated to designing spaces that connect people with nature. With over 400 mobile projects under his belt and a desire to promote sustainability, he designs luxury trailers that help people pursue their passion while preserving the planet. Welcome to Brandventures, Joanna and Matthew.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hi, Gustavo. Thank you.
How are you guys doing today?
We're awesome. We're sitting in one of our living vehicles here in Santa Barbara at our headquarters, and happy to be here.
Yeah, beautiful day. A little gray outside, but that's June gloom for you on the Central Coast. But we're having a wonderful day and looking forward to chatting with you.
Awesome. So Matthew, tell me a little bit about your outdoor enthusiasm.
Yeah, so it really started from day one. I didn't really have a choice. I was born and raised in Mammoth Lakes, California. So that's the Eastern High Sierra. It's really just a playground for adults. And so, I was surrounded by the great outdoors. Right across the street from me was a national forest. So that was really my playground. My growing up, I would go out into the woods and build tracks for mountain bikes or take these kind of old snowmobiles that we had at the time and go just play around the hills. Of course, every winter, anything that I could do in the snow, I was regularly doing it. It was really just part of our family growing up. And, we were always adventuring outdoors we never really went to hotels. So we'd either go camping or we'd take a little tiny trailer that we had with us and just go explore. I went to college in San Luis Obispo and gained my architecture degree, 5 years later. And then moved to Santa Barbara shortly thereafter and started what I thought was going to be a career in architecture.
Okay, that's great. And how about you, Joanna? How was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
Not in the woods like Matthew, but I did have a love of the outdoors. My family as well, we spent a lot of time out in nature. Our vacations were always going out to a lake, a cabin in the woods, fishing, picking blueberries, looking at wildlife. It was a very kind of simple childhood, and I really just loved nature and the outdoors. And I always wanted to travel. My parents were born in Poland, so I've spent time abroad and just have a lot of family that lives out in Europe. So those were really our big vacations. We'd go there for the summer, and my uncle owned a farm and I'd spend time with the animals. So very different locations that we grew up in, but same kind of love of just adventure, the outdoors and nature in general.
How did you guys meet, and what sparked this whole adventure?
Yeah, so we have a great meet story. We actually met on Tinder, where all great business relationships and marriages start. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and Matthew was in Santa Barbara. And we eventually just met up after weeks of talking. And it was kind of just, I don't know, we just clicked immediately. There was just a lot of passion on both sides. And there was this strange feeling that we were just kind of meant to come together to do something really big together. We started working together just 3 months into our dating relationship.
About the same time that Joanna moved up to Santa Barbara from Los Angeles. We both recognized kind of this mutual passion. I was renovating trailers at the time.
You didn't tell me that, though.
Yeah. I told her I had a hotel. She later learned that it was a Airstream trailer hotel, and she kind of felt a little duped. But
yeah, kind of clickbait. He told me he was an architect. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
It's a half truth.
So we actually purchased a travel trailer together and renovated it and just did a bunch of cool stuff to it. And then took off for 3-4 months, just did kind of a cross-country trip. That was his test to see if I was wife material, to see if we could live together in a small space. And I passed, and my reward was we got to create a trailer company together.
Yeah, that led to the mobile design renovation company, where over the span of about 10 years, what started is I was just a one-man shop, single-handedly designing, using my design expertise and working with customers who just wanted to custom upfit anything, a bus, a van, a trailer, a motorhome, whatever. So customers would come to me and say, hey, I want to put a studio or a guest house or something in their vintage trailer. And so I design it and build it. And 10 years in, and 400 projects later, I had a burgeoning little small space renovation company, and Joanna was joined in on that. And that's what we kind of the birth of our business relationship together. And so Joanna started taking over the sales and marketing side of the business. I was running things from the design and the leadership of the company. And the trip is really what was very intentional for us to start this deliberate choice of living in small spaces together. And so that's what started triggering this awareness of what's it like to live in a small space, and what are the compromises that you need to make in order to do so. And so all this while, we were designing for other people, but now we were designing for ourselves.
This road trip that you guys took was a game changer. You really started to live in your space, right?
Yeah, just living in something for several months at a time, and working full time. We had our dog with us. Cooking meals, figuring out how to work out, just do all the normal life stuff. It's different than going camping for a weekend where
Absolutely.
You can kind of isolate yourself and just, have some fun. So this was a very different experience where you had to think of all aspects of life and how do you integrate that into an experience that is actually, enjoyable.
When you make a choice to move out of that primary residence and into a space full time that's either mobile or small, tiny, you have to make a fundamental transition where all the things that you had with you, you now have to move into your new lifestyle. And so that's a process of, first downsizing, recognizing what's important to you. And when you only have so much space, you really have, you don't have a choice. You either just live in a storage unit basically that has a bunch of stuff in there that's traveling around, or you just thin down and you recognize what's important to you. So that was a big process to start. But then once you're moving full time, we really had this awareness that all the spaces that we had been designing for, and then this space that we were living in, was fundamentally still what we call a recreational vehicle. And that's what it was. It was a travel trailer that we bought, and, did a few things to it, but it was designed for short-term use. In the namesake, it's called recreational. So we were again making all these compromises, whether it was, the functionality of the bathroom or the bedroom, the living space, separate spaces. So it was 1,000 little lifestyle functional realities that we were always kind of creating friction with. And, right. That's a very polite way to say it,
Yeah. And, this idea of living in an RV or travel trailer full time, people have been doing this forever. I mean, people live in their cars.
We're not reinventing the wheel here.
But what we did invent was design something intentionally for that purpose, because everybody who is living in their motorhome or boat or their car or their RV or whatever, that product was not designed for that use. And so there's a lot of compromises that you're making.
This trip kind of translated all of that. And then we kind of came back from this trip and we looked at our business and said, okay, well, to date, the last 10 years, we've been designing stuff for people and their desires to meet their needs, but in these existing, what we called vessels. So, if it was an old trailer and it was gutted, we'd renovate it, but we'd inherently be limited by the shell, the four walls and roof and everything that was contained there. You might be able to cut some windows or new doors, stuff like that. But, there were limitations. Like, for example, every renovation that we built, no matter how much insulation we would pack into those walls, you really couldn't use it in the winter, just by virtue of how it was designed. And if you're going to live in something full time, you're no longer camping, so you don't get to choose when you get to go out and when you don't, because you're always in your space. So it has to function year round. And that's one of the biggest limitations that we saw in the marketplace, is that, okay, there's a couple products that are built to be full-time, but it requires a lot, full-time 4-season, but it requires a lot of kind of foot saves, to where you have to create these skirts, or you have to do all this stuff to where, additional insulation, you close off the windows, and it's really not enjoyable. And so we looked at this challenge collectively and said, okay, now that we've got this experience, this firsthand experience, and all these customer renovations we did, what can we do to design a product from the ground up? And that is the birth moment, the impetus that started everything, is the idea behind Living Vehicle. Is how do we create a vehicle that, the goal was an all-electric vehicle that's completely self-sustaining and built for full-time living. And we embarked on that journey, and Joanna came up, on one of our, trips, on one of our travels.
I was at a gas station driving through Bakersfield. I was like, I got it. I got the name.
And she came up with the name Living Vehicle, and that's, and 5 years later, here we are.
What is it that set the Living Vehicle apart from other motorhomes and trailers?
First and foremost is we during our travels, we had one big realization, is that with our trailer, you were primarily bound to go to RV parks or trailer parks or campgrounds, stuff with hookups, because, while it's self-contained, you can only stay away from the hookups for so long. And what we really loved to do was travel off grid in nature and utilize a lot of the great land that we have in our country to experience and explore and live, still connected to the world, via technology, but live in a way that it's in nature, in beauty. And that kind of stems from our adventurous kind of upbringing. Now, that's the core differentiator, where recreational vehicles primarily are built, they got to be plugged in. And if that plug means an electrical plug to power all the equipment, or a water line, you need resources. And so our vision for Living Vehicle was resource independent, and to leverage technology to create the resources that you need for living in a modern way off grid. So Luxury Unplugged was another kind of slogan that Joanna materialized. And that really kind of owns the concept of, we want to maintain living in a beautiful way, but without having to go to an RV park, because that's not a great experience. They're overcrowded. They're lined up like, right next to one another, and it's noisy, and they're not in the best parts of town. And like that's a major limitation.
Absolutely.
And so the vision was to start with electricity. So to become electrically independent and to generate power from natural resources, i.e. the sun, and other technologies that we have in the works. But once we create that, then you have a platform that pulls in the sun, creates energy, stores the energy on board, and then uses that energy to power all the other systems and, the equipment that you use for not only full-time living, but also the secondary stuff, like, charging your electric bikes or scooters, or even the electric vehicle that you have with you, or when, trucks come out like the Cybertruck. Our vision is to have the Living Vehicle effectively be a battery that can charge the Cybertruck on the go, or other tow vehicles.
Wow, it's pretty practical, because you need other vehicles to get around, also the city, in smaller spaces where you can't really put the RV in, or you want to go to explore into more crowded places. And I want to ask you, Joanna, how does the Living Vehicle brand reflect the intersection between luxury, sustainability, and adventure?
Yeah, that's a great question. My background was very different, where I didn't have any experience with trailers. Matthew came into this being an architect, having a very specific design mind, engineering, things like that. So when we were living in all of these different spaces together and going on these long, 3-4 month road trips, I was looking at everything from the aspect of, is this comfortable? Is this functional? Do I enjoy spending time in here? Am I able to do everything that, I would expect to do, at home? And so it was really cool, the process of designing, because I would write Matt just this long list of stuff of, here are all the things that, need to be changed, that need to be implemented. And then he would just figure out how to do it. So the process was really us figuring out for ourselves. We really were our first customers for a living vehicle, because we couldn't find anything on the market that met the needs that we were looking for personally.
Yeah.
So for us, luxury, it's not just about, a high price tag or fancy things. It's being able to, have everything that you want without any compromises. So like Matthew said, being out in nature, not having to be plugged in an RV park because you're limited by, resources. We've been in some of the most beautiful places and been able to have the AC running, out in nature because it's hot. We have a beautiful fold down patio where a dog can hang out. I can do yoga out there. We can, cook nice meals. So it really integrates kind of the idea of you're not having to compromise anything, and also having to have these amazing experiences that literally are just not possible without the living vehicle.
As luxury is concerned, what are the key elements of luxury in you guys' design of the living vehicle?
Luxury to any one individual is freedom of choice. The most luxurious thing is not having to work to wake up and do anything that you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
And being able to make the choices that you want in your world, and whatever matters to you as a human, to be able to wake up and do that. Living vehicle is designed to give you that freedom of choice.
Our goal since we started this was to create something that would be completely net zero and reduce the dependence of fossil fuels.
There's a duality in the RV world, because you're constraining yourself, but you're opening up to a dimension that can change in every minute, that you're outdoors and you're soaking in the sun, and then later you're under a shade under a tree. So to me, the luxury aspect is being able to be comfortable on the outdoors, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Being able to travel wherever you want and maintaining that level of comfort. We have this concept of small space, big life. People are starting to value relationships and experiences more and less about the physical space, as long as your needs are met. And so if we can provide all those things and cater to those experiences, and frankly, the stuff that a lot of folks have an evolving value system, that's the luxurious outcome for enabling people to do what it is that they love, wherever they love, whenever, and how accomplish that using a living vehicle.
So how do you convey this message to your customers, or people that want to get a living vehicle? Do you guys also adapt each vehicle to each client's need, and how does that work?
Yeah, so our background is in, custom renovation. So we're used to having conversations with people about, what do you envision your lifestyle to be? How do you plan on using this? What's important to you? It's not like just buying a car and you go out on a lot and say, okay, how fast do you want to go? And, do you want leather seats or not? There's so many different applications for how somebody uses our product, because it is so versatile. That getting to know somebody and what they plan on doing is really the first place that we start.
Yeah. And so we do have a lot of options. We have different models now. We have, depending on how people are planning to use it, if they have just, an individual or a couple, they might, feel better in a towable product, a smaller model. We have a 24-foot model called the LT now. We have the HD, a larger, dedicated bedroom style model for families. And we have, places with guest quarters. They're a mobile production studio that have the mobile office, but then they integrated a full creative suite with Apple products and stuff like that. That's all powered by the energy system. It's just a full studio that they basically built on site, and they're able to execute production wherever they go. And they're just constantly traveling around.
we developed this product through that experience of living in so many different spaces. So it really is just an experience that you can't replicate. No one else can take our story and experience, and that's kind of the unique value that we offer to people, where we are experts, in small space living and design.
Absolutely. So Joanna, you have a background in production as well, correct?
I have a background in a lot of different things. My major was psychology, which is useful in all aspects of life. But I lived in Los Angeles, and I was able to just have a really amazing experience to get my hands in just a lot of different things, a lot of freelance creative work, on film sets and commercials, photo shoots. I was also in the food industry. And so just had some really amazing teachers. And it all just kind of came together. The thing I really love about being an entrepreneur and having your own business is that there's so many different aspects to it. I get bored very easily. So being able to pull from all of my different experiences, which at some point, seem a bit random, or how does this connect with this? But everything that I have done literally has been, it's like it was all preparing for this moment, because it's all just set me up for, being able to be successful and work with Matthew to kind of create this beautiful company.
Yeah. How do you leverage your skills in branding and marketing to develop this product?
Yeah, so media has always been really important to us. The storytelling of the lifestyle, kind of what this could look like in our own previous experience. So we've always really leveraged, video, photo shoots. We've done, some really exciting things to show people this is what's possible. Again, it's not about, coming to an RV dealer and looking at a parking lot and, talking about the specs of the vehicle. It's really painting that picture of like, this is what your life can look like. It's very exciting. And, showing that visually is, I think, what really gets people to dream and say, wow, like maybe I could do this.
Yeah, and I feel today with social media, you have a platform to really make an impact on a lot of people. It's kind of like the RV lifestyle. It's you don't bring people to the store anymore, right? Their store goes to you. Like, how do you take in a client from the beginning?
So we're a small organization. We limit the product that we sell every year because we really want to focus on the customer experience. So, and that also comes across in our sales. So when someone's interested, they'll either see us at an event. We'll probably be there talking to them, or they reach out. They either call or see us through the various channels. They reach out online. Now we have a very kind of one-on-one sales system where we have a team of folks that'll work with you and identify a customer's needs, identify budget, and it's kind of like coming to an architect, frankly, where you say, I have a problem, I need a solution, and that's really what we're doing here. We just have a platform that's designed to scale and provide a solution for a wide range. And so our job is to listen to a customer's requirements, hear what their needs are, identify the problem, and to work with them one-on-one to identify the solution. And the solution fits the needs, whether it's budget, time frame, and the functional needs and the lifestyle needs that the customer has.
What's your approach to conveying this lifestyle?
Again, it's telling our own experience and our own story. A lot of marketing is painting a picture for somebody, hoping that they'll, like that idea that you're, sharing, and then they'll want to buy your product. But it doesn't always match up with reality. Being able to stay truthful and transparent so that that customer does have that experience that they're expecting. For us, that's very important, the integrity. And that's why we work so closely with customers to understand, okay, it's amazing that, these beautiful images and, this dreamy story has brought you in. Let's talk about the reality and what you're really, looking for, and make sure you understand the expectations. There are going to be issues and things that don't work and break down, and you're going to get lost, and you're going to get a flat tire, and you're going to fight with your spouse, and your dog is going to run away and bark. Like, all those things still exist. And so for us, it's sharing that reality with people and making sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. In our branding, you'll notice that Joanna and I are on the site. We're in the photos. We are on a lot of the videos. That's not just because we have a bunch of time on our hands and we want to be the models for the business. I mean, this is because from day one, we were the story. And we started this business from our own experience. And it's a very firsthand, genuine story, because that's just the story that we're telling, is the story of the life that we chose, and then the product that we continue to develop. And so, even to this day, while we're growing now and we're making some transitions, I mean, from day one, the story that we've been telling is our very personal story that is genuine, because it's the story. It's the only story we know. And so when we release a new model, we go explore we do some stuff with the model. We take some photos while we're doing it. And then we create some videos that tell that story. And, it's a very genuine firsthand experience. And that's what we communicate.
Can you guys give us 3 simple tips on how to reduce, optimize, or simplify your lifestyle to fit on an RV?
I mean, the most important and kind of obvious thing is you have to get rid of a lot of stuff. Find out kind of what are those non-negotiables, things that you absolutely have to bring with you.
I'll add a second one is being really truthful with how you want to live your life. Write down what your goals are. How many people are going to live? Just be very, very frank with yourself. Do you need separate spaces? Do you value mobility? Do you value off-grid living? And all of these things come back to defining the product that you're going to buy.
Rent something for a weekend, actually try out the lifestyle before you just sell your house and then fully commit to it. Because you can do everything right as a business owner and create a beautiful product. But if it's just not the right fit for somebody, it's just not really the lifestyle that they really kind of understood and played out all the way through, it just doesn't work.
Understanding the capabilities of an RV and how they meet your needs, and those 3 things, I think, work pretty well when making a very large choice.
Yeah, and I think that's precisely the adventure angle of it. You can make sacrifices and you have expectations. They're not all going to be met at all times, but you might discover a few things that you didn't know before. So it's taking that leap of faith and saying, I want to do this. It's going to come with some, I'm going to have some compromises, but at some point may become something that you enjoy further down the line. Yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming to Brandventures today. It was so lovely to meet you guys. And I want you guys to tell us what is the best way to reach you guys. How do you become an owner of a living vehicle?
Easiest way is to find us on our website, livingvehicle.com. Send us a message there. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Living Vehicle is our handle. Pretty easy to find us. We're a small team and we're ready to chat.
If you want to email us directly, you can say hello at livingvehicle.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for coming. This is it.